Hello everybody. Okay, as promised, if you've watched the first video, and actually if you haven't, it's probably not going to make much sense, but this is how we set up 34 races, 34 legends, in the LOL IRL. We do a real quick half-hour deal. We've gone to no damage, no cautions. We don't even do points. They're just basically a half-hour show, as Door Bumper Clear calls it. So I'm going to show you how we set these up. We are in Create a Race. This is generally going to be an under league, so we're going to check mark this. There is another way of doing it. You can get in from your league in a session and create a session. You'll get to the same place. Either or works. If you have more than one season, which we do, we run trucks on Mondays. We run the 34s on Wednesdays. Oh, wacky Wednesday. But those will come in here. If you've got a season 2, season 3, da-da-da-da-da, and down the line, all those choices will be there. Or you can do it, say you were just doing one for funsies. Don't check that, and it's not a league race, and then you can just make a hosted race out of it. But just for the cause, you can go either way. If it's hosted, you can make a password. Of course, then you got to get out there with it and let people know the password, or nobody's coming to race with you. Anywho, on to the server details. Same thing. That's most of us. U.S. Boston. There's U.S. West for those out on the left side. Your launch. We're not going to launch it right now. We're going to do this Wednesday because we race those on Wednesdays. And we are going to start that at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Or I'm in Central. I get myself trying to adjust that on the fly. So 6:59 p.m. is going to start at 7 o'clock Central Time, which is an 8 p.m. Eastern start. Funny how that works with them time zones. And instead of just putting 7 o'clock in there, if you do 6:59, that gives iRacing that minute or so it needs to actually get your session up and running. So actually people get in at 7 or 7:01 and you're there. It's not 7:02, 7:03 and people are, oh, I don't see the race. Because I hear that every single time. That's why I started doing this. Your admins. Here again. If you're in the league, these will show up. I'm not in the league setting. I uncheck that. So we're just going to add. We're going to throw James in here. And then we're going to hit next over here to the time limit. And this is where things get changed. On our normal setup, we would be down here with the practice and open qualifier and all that. We're not using that. We're going up here to enable heat racing. Then we're going to hit the drop down. This is all official heat formats. These are from iRacing. These are not ones that are user created. Your heat formats are heat formats you have made. And you can see I've got a handful of different ones here. The one we're currently using I call 38 minutes because that's basically the maximum amount of time it would take to run it. Then I've got this as a description so I know what that means. It's a 10-minute practice, it's a 5-minute heat, it's a 15-minute feature. Then we go over to our weather. Weather's going to be fine. I just hit generate because, why not? Let it be random. We go over here. We are going to use in fixed setup. We're going to hit the car, and we're going to go down here. We're going to pick the 34s. Then the select setup, let's just use, we'll use Lakeland because this one confuses people too while we're here. Okay, so Lakeland is Lakeland, Florida, better known as USA International. But the setup is called Lakeland because that's where it was at. You can hit the settings here, maximum tire changes. I mean, these things are so fast, and the setup takes a month of Sundays to get into the pits and change tires that you're not going to do it. But you can limit them there if you want. But we're set up for USA International. We're doing fixed setup. So now we want to find our track, which, like I said, Lakeland, which is actually USA International in the track list. Scroll. USA International. And we're going to do the asphalt. We're not going to run dirt. We picked the asphalt setup. Track options. 25 drivers because that's what we do with our heats, and we'll double back into here. Consecutive cautions. So if we take a green, we wreck, and we take a green and we wreck, it's going to single file us. That way we're not side by side. Hopefully we don't wreck as bad. Your start zone, turn that on, turn that off. I particularly don't use it, so I don't have a lot of information for that. You can pick a pace car if you want. Fast repairs, no limits. Green, white checkers, you can go up to 10, 15. 15 is what you can go to. Full course cautions, we don't have that on. The Lucky Dog, we don't have it on because we're not using cautions. These are just like rookie class, you go green and it's just bedlam until the end. So your race options, we do not have any sort of restrictions on these at all. We run these in league, so we know who we're racing with. You can limit these down. Say you were doing something, and you didn't want any of the pro guys in there stinking up the show, but you didn't want the rookies in there either. So you can go down into class 1D, or if you want to be a little better than that, I'm like class 3. Which there again, a little trial and error with a lot of this stuff will really help kind of zone you in. Tire change rules, stuff like that. We don't use any of that because, again, we're just doing this for fun. But disable car damage? Yep, we do that. We don't have damage. We've got unlimited repairs. The cars will break, but then they heal themselves. They get most of the way back to how they were when they started the race. We don't throw the yellow, so this way we wreck and we just keep going. These are all about fun. So this is the sole reason we do it like this. And then this is what you see afterwards, and we don't care about that. AI, we don't care. We're not going to run any AI with this one. Track conditions, my normal, we leave the marbles on. We start the track at 0. We're starting on a new fresh track, and that's as we run on it, going to have more and more rubber build up over the qualifying and through the race. Time of day doesn't matter. The multiplier on this one doesn't matter. We run such a short schedule. And before we would normally check out, we're going to go back over here, and we're in. Oh, actually, we're going to go back a couple is where we're going to go. If I get this thing sorted. So we're going to go back over in the create a race under the time limit, enable heat racing, and then the format. So what we're going to do is this only needs done once, but just so you guys see it, I'm going to hit this. We're going to go down to edit heat format. Ta-da! All right, so here is your edit heat format. So you name it, which is, see, I've named it, in the description, which we've seen that. Here's where you set your maximum entrance. We use little tracks. I figure 25 is honestly probably more than we get full on disclosure, but if we get more than 25, I don't think that would probably work out. But you can adjust that as you need. This chart on the right will actually change as you do stuff, and I'll show you what's here, and then we'll do some monkeying with one. So for practice, we got a practice type. It's an open practice. Everybody practices together, and it goes for 10 minutes. The qualifying, none. We don't qualify. How we do it is we start a heat race, and it just puts you wherever it feels like putting you, and that's where you're at. Makes it nice and random, bunch of chaos. Just these are for fun. This is the whole setup of this is just to try and make it just as weird and goofy as we can. The session length is I do a 5-minute heat, 15 laps. So which is rare, but if we manage to do 15 laps, we'll stop before the 5 minutes. Generally, we run for 5 minutes, but we did run cautions up until now, so this will be the first time we're trying this caution-free. I think we'll probably start to hit the 15 laps, and we may end up moving it out for 20 for the next season. We'll just don't know. Number of entrants advancing to the main from each heat. This one will affect over here, and you see heat 1, total entrants in stage 25, entrants advancing to feature 25. So this is everybody who comes into the heat advances. That's what we want. Sometimes you're going to want to eliminate people, and I'll show you how to do that. The caution types are disabled for us because we don't want to do them. Positions to invert on the heat, we're not going to do that because we haven't qualified. The heat races score points. We don't care. We're not scoring points. The consolation race. As you can see, we don't use that either. We go from a heat to a feature, bing, bang, boom, and we're done. Feature race, 25, which is the same as what we got everywhere else. We do not do a warm-up, although you can. The session length is 15 minutes. The session lapse is 50, and the positions to invert, now that will be from the feature or the heat finish. So we do all. So if you finish dead last in the heat, you're starting on the pole in the feature. You win the heat, you're starting last in the feature, and all points in between are just inverted. So when you get that in there, you just hit Save Format. Save success, da-da-da-da-da, and then you just can hit back, and you go back in, and you can just check out and do your normal checkout process from here. So if you do not have a heat racing format and you don't really know which one to use through all of the ones, which, I mean, a lot of iRacing is kind of trial and error because there are a ton of options in here and so many things you can set up. But just say you don't have anything saved and you're like, what do I do? New heat. So we're going to make a new format real quick. So this one, we're going to call it the learner format, because why not? We're learning here, folks. Okay, maximum entrance. Let's just go big. Let's go 40. We make a nice, easy cut doing this. Okay, so we're going to have 40 total entrants come in. Then we're going to hit next. Practice type. We're going to have open practice, and we're going to give them a half hour because we're going to have a lot of cars. We're going to let a bunch of people come in. So a half hour practice. Now, as you can see, maximum estimated duration right now is 2 hours and 10 minutes for this show. That will change, and then that kind of gives you an idea of how much time you need to buy when you get down here and actually go in. Qualifying style. Let's say, let's do lone. We'll have a lone qualifier. They're going to have 5 minutes. We'll give them 2 laps. Do more NASCAR style. Number of entrants advancing from qualifying. We can have, since say it's shown as 5 heats, say the top 5 qualifiers don't even got to do it. They can go straight to the feature because they were the fastest 5 in qualifying. However, the fast 5 now have to watch all of this without racing, so that can get a little boring. So keep that in mind. Caution types for the heats or for the qualifying is disabled. We don't need any of that. Scoring is going to be their best lap. You can change that to their average. So if they make them run 3 or 4 laps, and the average of that, the fastest 5. You can have that scoring points. We're not going to do that. So now we're over into the heats. So keep in mind, out of the 40, we've already lost 5. So we're dealing with 35 cars now over 5. So maximum field size, if we do 7, just simple math, 7 times 5 is 35. And right here, 7 of them are in, 4 are going to go to the feature. So there's your, say, let's do another 5 on that, just because we'll kind of use familiar stuff. 15 laps, 5 minutes. Number of entrants from the main, or going to the main, I'm sorry. Say we change this to 5. So we're going to do this when normal full course cautions, because we're going to run it on an oval. And we're not going to invert from qualifying. But now up here, 7 start, 5 aren't going to make it. Or 5 will make it, 2 will not make it. So you got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 that are not going to make the feature. Now out of your 40 that started, you're down to 30. Well, let's let half of them in. Let's go next. Consolation race. Let's do 1 round of 10 cars. And we'll do it as a 5-minute, 5-lap shootout. We're not going to invert them. If you have this to always run, that way it'll always run it, but if you don't have enough cars, it would just skip it. So that's what these are here for. And there again, you've got points. So the consolation will run maximum field size for the feature. It's going to be 30. And if we scoot this on out, this will take us out to 40. And see now all of a sudden we've got entrants advancing to feature race. So if we scoot this back to say 35, now we have 10 from the consolation race in the step before. The top 5 get to run the feature. So now you've got 35 of your 40 cars finishing. So basically in the feature race, and the session here on max entrance, if these two numbers are the same, everybody races. If you shorten this one down from the session, so you go from here from 40 to 35, that's how many cars you're going to eliminate through heat races and or a consolation. And you can do it also just while we're jumping around the consolation. You can just not do a consolation race. So you can just through here, through the heats, you can run through and you're going to have your heat races, but then you're going to get down to where the fast 30 are the ones that make it. Or the fast 35, I'm sorry. I'm changing numbers on myself real fast. But taking that consolation out takes a little more time off of it. So, you know, it's again, as I've said, little trial, little error. You know, you can move things around as you want. The consolation and then dropping a couple off is kind of cool, though. We're going to be really mean. We're going to let one person not run. We'll let everybody but one person run because that just seems like a horrifically mean thing to do to somebody. We're not going to give them a warm-up. Session length in minutes. We'll run a longer race. We'll give them a half-hour race or, let's say 100 laps. And then the invert, we're going to invert them all. And what that would do is, remember, we started this one off with the top 5 in qualifying. That's why there's the green bar up here. So out of the 40 that start, the fastest 5 have gone to the feature. They haven't done any of these heats. They're now starting in the last 5 positions. I like a little chaos with my racing, and this is a way to do it. So we've got all this. We've got our cut downs through heats. You know, 1 heat, 2 heat, 10 heats. It doesn't matter. Consolation or not. You know, these are all options through here, and this is, you know, by far nowhere near the only way to do this. You know, there's probably 10,000 different ways to set this up. But you get, you know, from practice to qualifying, you run your heats, you get to the consolation, you do the feature. This will show you here, you know, we're still right around 2 hours. And if you decide, you know what, I don't want to have to pay for that much time, you give them 25 minutes to run it. Then that puts you underneath there. Then all you got to do is you can save your format, save success, you hit back, and now from here on out, whenever you hit enable heat racing, you go down to the bottom, there it is. There's our learner format, there's the normal format, you know, what we would normally use. There's one for a little longer, my 1 hour deal. But anyway, then you do your normal, you check out and do your confirmations with that. And that's how you set up heat racing in the UI. And it's a kind of clunky, but understandably so, because there's so many options, I think. I don't know if there's honestly, an easier way of doing it. But hopefully this helped out. I will stop talking and let you guys get back to your day. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully this was helpful. You guys have a good one. Thanks.